What's going on, everybody? The Bitcoin giveaway is now closed. We will be announcing the winner in a video that will be uploaded this afternoon. Congratulations to whoever is the lucky selected random winner, and we will actually be announcing the winner first on Snapchat. So if you are interested in seeing who's the winner before the video is even uploaded, you can add us on Snapchat. But all that being said, we have a very exciting video today where we will be talking about Ripple XRP, and there's some really exciting news talking about how Ripple has been positioning themselves on the global stage in a really significant way. Ripple wants to beat Bitcoin in India. Now, we've talked about how India is really a significant developing power in the world right now when it comes to technology and when it comes to the cryptos that are essentially able to leverage this important part of the world in these key developments that are happening right now. And it's interesting to see how all these different news articles like Global Coin Report are essentially picking up on this, and it seems as if the community is essentially positioning themselves in a key strategic place. I mean, I've done my research into the team behind Ripple, and I think they're one of the smartest in this crypto space right now, and I believe that as we continue to see things moving forward, Ripple's vision of the future is really going to be playing a strategic role in the advancement of XRP and the greater basically how we see the public perceiving these technologies across the board. So over the past few weeks, we have been seeing Ripple undergoing some really significant controversy, and it seems as if they've made their way through this. I mean, certainly it's going to be a step-by-step process, but they really have, I mean, it's interesting to see articles like this, you know, with these recent successes by Ripple sort of overshadowing the recent controversies that we had been seeing surrounding the technology. But overall, I would say that Ripple is one of those that is definitely right front and center in accordance with what we've been seeing happening across the board involving the various different trends of cryptocurrencies. And of course, Ripple is right in the center of the conversation between the debate happening involving centralized versus decentralized components of these various technologies, and how essentially the cryptos that leverage decentralized are having a significant advantage over Ripple XRP at the current moment, even though we take into consideration the fact that Ripple is, of course, I mean, it is interesting to see how they've separated themselves. They've separated Ripple and XRP on CoinMarketCap, because we all remember before it said Ripple XRP. Now it just says XRP. So this is also an interesting sign, very significant when it comes to the branding of the technologies. I know for a long time people were getting Ripple and XRP confused. You know, people who hadn't necessarily done their research weren't necessarily up to speed regarding the relationship, the nature of their two within between Ripple and XRP. And I think this new branding is really going to be significant as we continue to see how XRP performs in the near future. But that issue of decentralization versus centralization is ultimately going to be at the forefront of the debate that's currently happening. And across the board, this definitely does encompass a wide range of different global variables that are really coming together at this time. And this is including and not limited to, of course, the market cap of 250, now 49. But you know, of course, we're going to see that thing fluctuate all over the place today. But I mean, it has been a pretty bumpy ride. So it is interesting to see how Ripple has in fact survived up till this point. They are still the #3 crypto. So those people out there who are really going to talk smack about Ripple, I mean, where are you coming from? I mean, honestly, I understand how Ripple does have its significant drawbacks, but I've done some research into, I mean, I've done hours and hours of reading regarding the nature of where Ripple is expanding themselves and going. And it seems as if the establishment has created some really significant connections with Ripple, involving the banks, involving all these different levels of society that are well established up till this point. So I wouldn't put it past the banks and all these various different entities that have connected themselves so far, respectively. I mean, we see big names like Google popping up next to Ripple regularly. We see names like Apple popping up around Ripple regularly, and things are obviously going to take quite some time to really come into reality. I mean, we see Bitcoin where it is at 6,273 at the time of making this content. And of course, this is due to a multitude of variables on an international scale. We can't necessarily give the fault to any individual technology at this time because the market is such abysmal. We've been seeing such volatility, so many crashes so regularly. I can understand how new investors might get cold feet getting themselves involved with these various different things. And of course, nobody can really knock that. I would definitely recommend taking your time and of course surveying the different options, and don't jump into anything right away. Of course, Ripple is circulating supply very, very high. It often gets criticized on that note, but you also have to take into consideration that fact that whenever somebody sends any Ripple, they do destroy some Ripple. So there is in fact lowering supply of XRP as things continue to move forward. So I think as we see things moving forward, we'll definitely be seeing some real big potential in store for Ripple, especially as they make moves towards being less centralized, and the various different components that we've seen leading to success for a lot of these other technologies ultimately I think will come to the front and center in a very significant time period as things continue to roll out. And with the latest additions, the latest updates that we've been seeing happening involving Coinbase, I mean, we see this rumor circulate time and time again. There's always going to be people who are talking about the potential for Ripple to be on Coinbase, and here we have it again. Why Ripple thinks Coinbase should add XRP, and obviously that was a little while ago, back in June, but the conversation is always happening, and I think that Ripple really would be a match made in heaven for Coinbase, because you take into consideration the fact that there's so many people who are just now getting involved with cryptocurrency whose first introduction to crypto is actually through Coinbase. And I think we currently see Litecoin where it's valued at $77, and of course Bitcoin being the most expensive on that site. I mean, looking across the board, I mean, Ethereum and these various different options, Bitcoin Cash, I really could see XRP up there side by side with them. And of course you consider consumer mentality, buyer psychology. When people see a 44-cent technology, the concept of being able to buy one for 44 cents as opposed to a fraction for whatever, it is something to be said. I mean, I understand that that's an often criticized point, but it is something to be said across the board that this technology really does have a place in the greater expansion of the various different components of society that seek to apply cryptocurrency possibilities, and the various different advantages that are made when one leverages these sort of technologies. And I really do see some significant potential in store for Ripple over the next year and a half time frame. I could definitely see some really interesting things happening involving Ripple. I mean, in particular, we've been seeing these various different news articles regarding Ripple, and I think that it really does have a pretty strong community built around it. And but all that being said, you guys, I think it's a time for one significant thing. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is not financial advice. This video is for entertainment, educational purposes only. And of course, the whole purpose of making this video is just so that we can share our opinions. So of course, you're welcome to share your opinion with us. You guys can contact us on our Twitter. We'll be including a link to the Twitter down in the description below. So if you guys are interested in communicating with us, you could easily do so through the Twitter. And obviously we have the second Twitter is up and running as well too, so you guys can connect with us over there if we're too bogged down or not responding right away on the first Twitter. You know, obviously we do have the second Twitter. But yeah, all that being said, I mean, you could also follow Ripple on their verified account. Of course, make sure that you're always following the verified account. All that being said, though, I mean, looking forward, I'm definitely paying attention to what separates these different technologies and how they're planning to really leverage the technological shift that we're seeing happening on so many different levels, with different people getting connected to the internet via smartphones and all these different variables compiling together in such a short amount of time. I was actually watching this really interesting video. And I watched this video about twice now. I'll actually include a link to it down in the description. I really think that you guys should go and subscribe to this channel, and of course like you know, whatever. But yeah, really interesting content here. This guy was just talking about you know, the various different news that we've been seeing regarding Ripple, and how this is going to affect the overall trajectory of where we see the community going from this point. And you know, it's a slow crawl, but at the same time, it's also it's going to get up and running at one point, and once we see it, you know, really pumped with the steam, it's, you know, no pun intended, I really think that there is some potential to see some significant gains in the near future. So, you know, ultimately, I'm pretty excited about these things, you know, as they're developing in real time. We are pretty early when it comes to cryptocurrencies. I know this is said a lot, but it is a lot to be said, because you have to take into consideration what percentage of the world is actually right now involved with crypto, as opposed to the percentage that could actually have involvement with it in the near future, in basically a practical sense. And ultimately, crypto does have the potential to overtake the whole world. So really, there is a lot of potential in store for all these technologies, and anything in the top 100, top 200, I really think is in for you know, some significant you know, shift and you know, leaps and bounds and so forth as we see things coming forward. I mean, we see this list of the top 10 right here, and of course, I really do think that there's potential to see some of these technologies changing places, and of course, you know, moving upwards, moving downwards, and I think Ripple's really eyeing that number 2 position. We've seen Ripple and XRP exchange, Ripple, XRP, and Ethereum exchanging that number 3 and number 2 position before, and I honestly wouldn't rule it entirely out as things continue to develop and move forward. But all that being said, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.